Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And, this review for a lot of people might be a little bit overdue, but I actually just saw Suicide Squad tonight. So, give me a break. So, finally saw the movie. And, leading up to seeing this film, you guys saw I did a video about how I feel that Disney is paying off the critics, uh, promoting their fucking misdirected, misproduced, poor movies, to put them over the top of the DC films. I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist. This is what a lot of people say. They want to write it off because it's so far fetched in a time where just I don't know what it was, if it was like 7 8 years ago where it came out that that GameSpot and IGN had been paid off, by video game publishing companies to rate games at certain scores. So I use this as an example of the fact that video games and films are kind of in the same category. They're forms of consumable media that are open to critical review, critical examination, and analysis. So it would not surprise me. Not only that, it would not surprise me. I think it's pretty much confirmed at this point. And seeing this film, it kind of reaffirmed that in me because this is a good movie. It might not be excellent or perfect, but really looking at the large number of critical scores, and pretty much let's just come out and say this. Can you really sit there and say that this is a bad movie? Can you really sit there and say that you had a terrible time during this movie? Can you really sit there and say that you did not enjoy any part of this movie, that you didn't enjoy the great performances from Margaret Robbie or Will Smith, for example? Are you telling me that you didn't enjoy Jared Leto's performance as the Joker? Maybe it wasn't the best Joker, and now I'll sit right here and I'll say that that might be one of my top complaints about this film. Really, is I wasn't crazy about the cosmetically how the Joker looked, but these were concerns that I made in videos like a year ago when we saw the original design for Jared Leto's Joker. I already expressed that I didn't like the whole Little Wayne look, and I kind of understand what they were going for and how can I best describe this. They kind of wanted to show Joker more of like a gangster, like, that he's sort of like kind of like a mob boss in a way, and it's kind of glamorous the way that this is why rappers get the grill and the fancy clothes and the fancy car, and we see Joker driving like a Lamborghini in this film. It's because we want to, they want to show that Joker's crime syndicate is at such a high level that, he's like living like a rapper, I guess you could say. So I wasn't crazy about that direction of the character, but it's a good performance, and it's Joker. It's a different portrayal of Joker, just as the portrayal of Joker in the Dark Knight. But I don't really know if that's such a major concern. Now, a major concern with a lot of people is the lack of Joker. Now, I like in this particular case that Joker wasn't used a lot. And you might be asking yourselves, well, why, Pratt? I mean, like, pretty much everybody's favorite DC villain is probably Joker. To be more specific, you could say Batman, because maybe you might like Doomsday or somebody from, another hero's particular villain roster. But most people, resoundingly, usually choose the Joker when it comes to DC villains. I mean, he's a classic villain, instantly recognizable by most people. And he's not in the movie, even though he was promoted to really kind of be almost the star of this movie. And while that is not really entirely true. There was a lot of promotion of Jared Leto being the Joker, and he was going to be featured in this film, but in no way did they make like he was going to be a main character. We all said that he was going to be in this movie, but we should have been able to tell from all the promotional materials that had been released beforehand that this wasn't going to be a Joker movie. Many people were probably expecting this to be almost like a Joker solo story, or that Joker was going to be the leader of the Suicide Squad, but that just wasn't the case. I don't know why people led themselves to believe that, and I think they were kind of dooming themselves to disappointment right from the start. And that's no fault of the movie or the director or any of the filmmakers. That's a fault of your own, a fault of the critics. So let's really put ourselves in the shoes of the critics for a minute. Let's pretend like they weren't paid off by Disney. Okay, we're living in a naive world of extreme naivete, and we're just gonna pretend that this is so. Okay, so whoa, Disney's not paid off. Not paying us off. Okay, so there you go with that mindset. With that mindset in mind, uh, the critics would look at this movie, and they tried to make like this movie was misshapen, that it didn't have any direction, that it had a bad plot, and pretty much what this is just like a repeat of what had been said about Batman versus Superman. No specific criticism that that really there's nothing being presented. This is basically like a lawyer walking into a courtroom, uh, and basically just giving up right on the spot, making a case. My client is innocent, but not even wanting to present an argument of why this is true before the jury or to the judge. Just, throwing it out there, just saying, okay, Batman versus Superman, it's like just throwing it out there, okay? Just throwing it out there, hoping it lands and somebody buys into that. And many people actually did. They went to see the movie anyway, but they saw it with a critical eye. They were looking for something bad, and they found flaws where there weren't really any flaws. I mean, the one thing that I'm seeing and I hear a lot of people have problems with is the Martha scene. And I think this is just the age of internet memes and internet parodies just kind of ruin it, because they just made the scene seem silly the way, when really it's not. If this was in any other time, people probably would have just glossed over this scene. But, like I said, the numerous parodies and the memes and everything, people are just not really feeling it. I guess they want to laugh at it. I guess that's kind of what they're getting at there. Um, so we've already gone over Batman versus Superman. I really don't want to talk about it anymore, but it does bear comparisons. This movie is dark. It's and that's the problem that a lot of people had with Batman versus. And I know what this is. People would have killed years ago for a dark movie. They always complained that certain movies are too lighthearted. Movies are too lighthearted. Civil War comes around and it's got this glimmering like feel good spirit to it, and it's boring. And I've already expressed my feelings on that in numerous videos. I said how bored I was during that movie and how I didn't enjoy it, and how Batman vs. Superman blew it out of the water. And if I can't use that as an argument, Suicide Squad just blows that movie out of the water as well. Uh, I mean, I don't see how this movie was bad. I love the character development. And there's another complaint I'm hearing, believe it or not. A lot of people are saying that they took too much time developing each character. Now, here's the thing for the comic book fans. The comic book fans are always whining all the time that, they're not being, that for years and years that they weren't being, faithful to the comics, be faithful to the comics. So here they are, they're being faithful to the comics and pretty much giving you backstories to these characters, maybe modifying small little things, but you're getting the gist of it basically. Now, I might have felt this way back in high school, but really, at this point in time, I don't really care. I kind of think back to, when I was in ninth grade and I had a problem with Spider-Man, with the Sam Raimi film. Like, I enjoyed the film, but I had a problem with the fact that the webbing was coming out of his wrist, like, through his skin rather than it being a web shooter. And then we actually get the web shooter in the Amazing Spider-Man, and the movie's a fucking train wreck. So sometimes, even though a movie's more faithful to the comic book, doesn't necessarily make it better. So people are complaining now, but now you've got your backstory. This is what you wanted, and when they do it, it's a bad movie. And I already see people are marching to agree with the critics. So, and I'm telling you guys, it's not people. A lot of people are probably gonna just come at me in this video, and they're gonna be like, "Okay, bro, you know what you're just doing? You're just going against the grain. You're going against the grain once again, like you were doing with Batman versus Superman." A lot of people don't like the movie. You're gonna sit here and you're gonna troll, and you're gonna say that you like the movie, and it ain't trolling, pretty much. This is me having my own opinion. This is me pretty much see, even the dogs are fucking angry at you guys for just agreeing with the fucking critics. uh you really need to look at a movie for what it is and stop believing everything that the critics say. Like I said, for example, with Star Trek, there's another movie with great reviews, a lot of critical praise, and the movie actually ended up being pretty fucking terrible in my eyes. And I stated the reasons why that was. Uh, it was just a movie that didn't feel like Star Trek. Instead, it just felt like some generic sci-fi movie. But that's all well and good. The critics liked it, so it's automatically considered a good movie. And the critics have more of an effect on people than you know. And I saw a lot of people saying this within the Suicide Squad comment section of my video, and with Batman vs Superman. Oh, no one listens to the critics anymore. The critics are irrelevant. Nobody believes in the critics. Well, apparently a lot of people do listen to what the critics say, because they basically repeat the rhetoric that, I was reading about these things from the New York Post and the Daily News and the New York Times and their film reviews. They pretty much match word for word what people are saying. You have a problem with the plot. What's the problem with the plot? Okay, we want to team up a bunch of villains to work for the government, and we want to take down Enchantress. Is there really a problem with this plot? I mean, like, I don't know what kind of plot people are looking for. So maybe this is the same thing, and this goes for Batman vs Superman. What do you guys want to see in these movies? What is it that you're looking for? Because I still don't see it. Tell me with Batman versus Superman what you wanted out of that movie. Was Batman out facing off against Superman, good enough for you? Was there not enough character development for you because there was a lot of it? Was there too much for you? What what was it exactly? I hear small complaints. Oh, Doomsday is General Zod. Okay, not exactly. So that really doesn't fly with me. That's enough to ruin a whole movie, because Alexander Luthor's blood got mixed with General Zod, so now you have Doomsday, and that automatically makes it a bad movie. Like I said, I'm not buying it. I'm never gonna buy that excuse. It's not gonna fly, really. Maybe with some of the goofballs on the internet who just don't really read into things too much and just take things at face value. But guys, come on. I mean, to shit on the whole movie, and it's not like people are just saying this movie's just okay. That's fine. you want to say it's an okay movie, it's all right, it's not bad, but it's not really my cup of tea. Okay, I'd be like, I respect that. But you're saying that the movie is terrible, and you're praising a movie like Civil War. See, you guys don't understand. If you're going to attack a movie's plot, you have to be consistent with the other movies that you're going to present in the same argument. You can't complain to me about Suicide Squad's plot, which is pretty fucking easy to understand. Group of villains are grouped together to take down an even larger villain. Okay, so there's really not a lot of it's not really too painstaking to understand. I mean, do you not like that plot? Did you want to see something else happen? Because I think Enchantress was a fine villainess to pick. I think that she did an excellent job. And that's for me what we see, like the magic coming from Enchantress. I think that's like CGI being used extremely well. Um, Instead of CGIing the fuck out of all the characters, and that's what you gotta appreciate about this movie. It feels a lot more man-made than these Disney Marvel movies, where I said these actors half the fucking time they're CGI'd to fuck. Half the time you're looking at a fake Captain America, a fake Iron Man. You know, they've lost like all affection for one of Hollywood's greatest things, greatest assets, practical effects. Nothing is better than a scene, an action scene, or a costume that is put together by hand and is not a computer generated image. I'm sorry, but I've said it time and time again, that totally takes me out of it. However, when you're looking at the scene with Enchantress, if it is something that really can't be achieved through, man-made, uh, methods, that's the word I want to use there, I guess, then it's okay, by me to use CGI because that's what it's there for. It's there as a last resort, and it should be treated as such, as a last resort. Just because you don't feel like doing something in a movie, oh, you know what? We really don't feel like having Chris Evans act out the scene. We're just going to use a computer generated image because it's too hard. No. See, to me, that is a bullshit fucking excuse, and that's not going to fly. Um, I got to see the actor in the scene doing something to buy it. Otherwise, it's a fucking video game, basically. You're just gonna have a bunch of fucking fake images that look like people that really aren't and pretend like they're actors. This is gone are the days of stunt doubles and shit like that to try to achieve certain imagery in films to satisfy the audience. They're not going to do that anymore. They've given up on that in Disney. But we see more of that with DC. These films feel like they are made with more love and care, while the Marvel Disney films, they feel like they're fed through a machine and processed, basically. That's how it is. It's like, okay, I want a Captain America film. Run it through a fucking machine. For some reason, the only one that didn't feel processed and by the numbers and, just completely like devoid of any life or energy was Winter Soldier. I don't know what the fuck happened with that one and why that movie was so good. It just was. It was made with love and care while all the other ones just weren't. I don't know what it was, but that was the exception to the rule, I suppose. And forever it probably will remain, because after watching Civil War, it doesn't look like we're going for that type of direction for a Marvel film anytime soon. No, we're gonna go as far away from that as possible. But anyway, it is basically just kind of obvious here. You got Suicide Squad, which is a big threat. It's a lot of hype behind it. The critics attacked Batman versus Superman, so whoever wants to believe that that's a bad movie, go ahead. But this is going to be the redemption. This is going to be the next crack at DC, and boom, just like that, bad reviews. And it's like I was reading memes like after Batman vs Superman happened. People were joking around like, "Oh, what if Suicide Squad ends up sucking as well?" And I'm just like, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it gets a bad review as well, because I when I saw those reviews for BVS, I was just like, "Holy fucking shit!" I knew it had to be a crock of shit. And it was. And the same thing happened going to see this movie. I was sitting there with a critical eye at the same time, but more taking it with a grain of salt than when I saw BVS. BVS, I really sat there, stared at the screen, and was like, I'm waiting for you to suck, but I'm not seeing it yet. And I was really looking that movie over, looking for something bad, and it did not come. Uh, and at the end, I was just like, well, that was fucking bullshit. Um, and with Suicide Squad, I was kind of like, okay, I know I'm going to enjoy this movie to at least to a certain degree. And I kept an eye out for anything that I would really have a big problem with. And I really didn't. There's changes. I mentioned the Joker, and probably another one would probably be Harley Quinn and Joker's relationship. I mean, if you want to go and you want to complain that this movie didn't do certain things with the characters, I can understand that. But I'm not even seeing these complaints. Oh, here I'll make up one for you. How about that? So let's make. I didn't have a problem with the Joker and Harley Quinn relationship, but maybe certain people did. So I'm gonna throw that out, and maybe you guys can latch onto it, and maybe that is the reason it's in your subconscious of why you didn't like the movie. So I'm gonna give you some reasons of certain things that might be unappealing to you, and maybe that's it. So okay, so let's start there. So maybe you didn't like the way the Joker was portrayed. Maybe there wasn't enough Joker. But the thing was, if Joker was in the film, let's start there. Let's just start about before we talk about the relationship. Let's talk about actually the Joker himself. If the Joker was in the film, he would have overshadowed everybody, including his main squeeze, Harley Quinn. Without a doubt, that great performance by Margaret Robbie would have fucking just been tarnished because Jared Leto would have just walked in there and made everything seem second rate, third rate even. What was shown of him was excellent. And it felt special. When Joker was on the screen, especially at the end of the film, spoiler alert, when they bust Harley out of, out of her imprisonment, you're excited to see the Joker because you haven't seen him for a while after a chopper crash. And, when you find out he survives, as he did, it's exciting. It's called timing. It's called pacing. These are, the benchmarks of making a film exciting. The pacing was here in this movie. I felt like everything was paced out very well. You got your character development, you got your action where it was needed, but it never slowed down to a standstill. There was always information flowing in and out. You were always getting a sense of the characters. Things added up. That was something that I liked. It was the same thing with Batman versus Superman. These characters were not standing around like in Civil War, like, duh, cooking and doing all this extra bullshit on the side. It got to the point really quickly. And if they are sitting around, it's so you get a better sense of who they are. Because let's be honest, we don't know Captain Boomerang too well. At least I didn't know who the fuck he was. Not everybody's going to know about these characters. Um, I will say, like, Captain Boomerang was probably my least favorite out of the bunch. Um, you know, I guess also you could say Slipknot as well. Who's there for even less amount of time. But Yeah, I mean, whenever they're talking, I'm interested and was listening, and there's a lot of great stuff. Deadshot's relationship with his daughter is pretty good. I gotta say, I was looking forward to seeing Will Smith for this role. The guy got jacked for this role. He's awesome. Will Smith always delivers. I don't know if the guy's like an asshole in real life, or at least his wife is. But talking about the real life Will Smith, but he always delivers, and I've always been a fan of this man ever since a kid. Watching Men in Black and Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Will Smith has a place in my heart. He's probably one of my favorite actors. I have to say, I like his style. I like his look. I like everything about the man, and he proves it here with his portrayal of Deadshot. And that just makes when you connect with the actor, you like an actor, and you want him to succeed. And when he does, that just makes the movie and the role even better. So I was very happy with that. I was happy with Deadshot. He looked like Deadshot for a brief period. He even puts on the mask, but even just having the scope over his eye and holding the guns, it was enough for me. And I was just happy with the whole role. And I like that little. We've seen this before. The conflicted villain, but the way you've got this movie set up, it's like you can't just make these villains detestable. You can't just make them all seem like cold blooded killers, even though that's pretty much what Deadshot is. Usually when you see Batman facing off against this guy, you get a sense that this guy's a real asshole. You want to see Batman take him down. But when we're flipping and we're blurring the line between protagonist and antagonist, and all of a sudden the usual antagonists become the protagonist, like the anti-heroes of sorts. Um, you have got a totally different beast on your hands. So you've got to kind of tug at those heartstrings. You kind of, got to do a little something extra to kind of make these characters seem appealing. And they succeeded like that. And they do the same thing with Harley Quinn. So, anyway, I was pretty happy with that role. But anyway, kind of getting a little bit sidetracked. I wanted to talk more about the performances. I just wanted to kind of run through that a little bit. But anyway, let's get back to talking about Joker. So where I got sidetracked is because I just had to talk about the great performance here from Will Smith. But what it is great performances like that would have been overshadowed by Joker. Is pretty much what I'm saying. I even forgot how I got down this path. Which happens sometimes. That's what happens when you don't edit. But you always get all this information. I had to get that out. So Joker would have definitely overshadowed everybody in this film without a doubt. It's no doubt in my mind. Joker would have completely overshadowed everybody. And that might have taken away from the movie in a way. And I know people would then make the complaint saying, okay, they downplayed everybody else. Deadshot didn't get enough screen time. What is this, the Jared Leto show? We would be complaining. Trust me, many people would have that complaint. It would be like the same thing with Spider-Man 3. People would say the same thing they said about, Sandman overshadowing Venom. Sandman's in the whole movie, but Venom doesn't show up until the last 30 minutes or so. So you'd have those same people complaining about that. But no, there's not enough Joker in the movie. I mean, the thing is, yeah, you'd say, okay, well, then, Brad, if you like the Joker so much, having more, no, because this is the Suicide Squad movie. This is not the Joker movie. We've got Joker. We've got a good, if you maybe sum up all the parts together, a good 20 minutes or so of Joker. And I think it's enough Joker. It wouldn't have really fit in with the plot, and everybody else, like I said, would have been overshadowed. The relationship between Joker and Harley Quinn. Now, this is something that I'm surprised more people are not talking about. So if you watch the cartoons or familiar with the comics or the games that came out, the Arkham games, you would see that the Joker and Harley Quinn are not your typical couple. They're not exactly loving. They're not lovey-dovey. Harley is with Joker, but a lot of times the feelings are not mutual. Joker has a special place in his heart for Harley, but sometimes that motherfucker sacrifices her, uses her as a human shield. I mean, sometimes I can't even say that he even has a soft spot in his heart. Sometimes they've touched on that occasionally, but when it's convenient for Joker, this guy would, not care if she fucking died sometimes. And that was kind of what was almost endearing about it. Because when she had the, oh, I forget what that condition is called, when you're, um, when you fall in love with the bad guy, whatever the fuck it's called. It's escaping me at the moment. I know someone's gonna comment and probably tell me what it is, but oh, Stockholm Syndrome. There you go. I just remembered. Okay, so when she gets that, when she's acting as the psychiatrist for the Joker, um, it's more like he manipulates her so he can escape, and that's what the Joker does. He's a manipulative guy, but it's not that he really liked the Doctor. It's more that he was using her, and she ends up falling in love with him. So it's this like ain't on the Joker. Joker is like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. It's just, I just have the effect on people. So you see what I'm trying to say is that Joker isn't really that willing to have Harley be at his side. It's more that she's more of a convenience for him, more of a, um, sort of like subservient to him. She just kind of does what Joker tells him because she's so infatuated with the man. She, looks up to him and so deeply in love with him that she'll do anything that he says. Basically, like she's under a mind control. And you always see he would do terrible things to her, like push her, like, I think one time he, like, even in the cartoon, throws her off a balcony so Batman could, because he knows he's gonna rush down to save her before she plummets to her doom. And by the time Batman makes it back up to the balcony, Joker's gone. So that's the kind of guy Joker is, and that makes sense because Joker's the opportunist. Joker is sadistic. And he's not really the kind of guy that you would see being lovey-dovey. Why? Because he's a psychopath. And you don't really consider these types of people to be that romantic. And so you see that once in a while you'll see Joker and Harley, but mostly he gives her the backhand, not physically, but that's what he does to her verbally. He verbally degrades her, and I don't know what the direction this is. Maybe that would have been like anti-feminist or whatever it may be. That's definitely could be a reason, but I don't know if it is so much. I wouldn't put it past them because that's how Hollywood likes to do things nowadays in a politically correct fashion, but they're not Disney. So I'm not really too sure about that. They did touch on false flags and stuff and Batman versus Superman. So I'm not going to really say that that was the real reason. They might have wanted to just change it up. Because I even see, like, online, people dig that relationship with the Joker and Harley. So they kind of played it up a little bit more. And they're like, all right, we're going to have Joker come to Harley's rescue now. We're going to have, Joker be more, affectionate to Harley. And kind of just play it like these are two psychos in love. I'm fine with that. I really am. I like that storyline too. I kind of have maybe slightly a little bit more of a soft spot in my heart for the more abusive Joker because I think it's sort of funny like how much she's into him and he just doesn't want to have any of that sometimes. And that's like kind of funny in a way because, like, Harley's supposed to be alluring and sexy, and Joker's like too busy for that shit. He's like, no, bitch, I don't want any of that. And that's what's kind of funny and kind of adds to. It's a horrible reason to like somebody, but it makes it more like it makes him more likable and just a little something extra to add to his character. Um, I like that about him, and but this is fine. That you see that she still calls Joker pudding, and you hear in one line Mr. J, and we even see a brief scene where Harley's dressed up as in the court jester outfit, which that was kind of cool. Um, but I'm not really a big fan of that outfit. I'm happy more with how they dressed her in this film. That's I think a better look for Harley. That suit's a little bit goofy. That worked for the cartoon, but I think more for this live action film, it's better that they kept it the way that they designed her for this film. So I like the relationship. And you really do get a sense, and that's where Joker never really leaves the screen. Harley kind of, vicariously is like your Joker, sort of. That's why they kind of wanted to put more of a light. Like, let's be honest with these characters. When you look at them, Deadshot and Harley really stand out, and I believe that was the intention. In fact, really, it is more Harley who delivers the final blow, um, to Enchantress. Um, so that when she cuts her heart out with the fucking sword, you know that's a big moment right there for Harley, and I'm sure a lot of the fans. And I'll be perfectly honest, like I was kind of getting a little bit sick, like leading up to this movie, of like the Harley Quinn fan, bandwagon, jumpers and everything, where they were almost like elevating Harley Quinn over the Joker. And I think that's kind of ridiculous. You had like a lot of like girls like kind of just getting behind Harley, like, oh, I like her because she's like psychotic. Yeah, you crazy bitch. Maybe you should do something about that. But anyway, I am a fan of Harley Quinn. I really like how Margaret Robbie played her, and she made this interpretation of the character to be quite likable. I really feel like the voice, she's going more for like the '90s Batman animated series voice for Harley Quinn, and I enjoyed that. I like how we still got a little bit more of her, like her interpretation of it, but it was kind of like she was still playing a certain paying a certain amount of homage to that animated interpretation of her, and that I liked. I liked that quite a bit. And I was really, really. She stole the show for me. I mean, it's really hard for me to say. I really like Jared Leto. Deadshot was great, but Margaret Robbie just, I don't know, she knocked it out of the park with this. Like, I look at her and I see Harley Quinn, and I was like smiling during this movie. I really was. I liked when those three characters were on screen. They did a great job. And I want to just mention really quickly again about the appearance of the Joker. So, like, and all these things I name, maybe you have a problem with Joker's lack of screen time. Maybe you have a problem with the relationship between Joker and Harley Quinn being, quite different than it usually is portrayed, in the, different forms of media that it's presented in, comic books and video games and TV shows. But maybe you have a problem with the way how the Joker looks, because I'll be quite honest, I don't really like the look that much. Like I said, I mentioned it earlier in the video. It is a little bit too much Lil Wayne Birdman-ish with the grill. If anything, okay, the tats, but the grill is a bit much. And like I said, I know what they're going for. They want to make him more lavish, more pimped out style of Joker, and a more modernized Joker, I guess you could say. Because I mean, like, yeah, I get it. Like, even though we've had our Dark Knight Joker and our Jack Nicholson Joker, you know, the Jokers pretty much look the same, with slight variations. But this Joker looks quite drastically different than the others, and that's probably what they were going for. Maybe it was the lack of screen time of Batman, who really only shows up once and speaks two sentences, if even. But we all knew that it was just going to be a cameo, so I don't really think that that's much of an issue for a lot of people. And if it is, you already knew, guys, that he wasn't going to be in the movie for that long because it's not really about him. And if your problem maybe is with the villain, I thought Enchantress was great, but maybe you were looking for something different. I don't really know. What kind of villain did you want? Did you want, a more famous villain? Did you want them to go after like an A-lister or something like that? Because I thought Enchantress was just fine, and the whole magical powers. I liked that actually. She was a great threat. And like I've complained about that before, like in movies, a lot of movies, and I complained about it in Civil War. The antagonist was weak, whatever the fuck his name was, Zemo, fuck Nugget. I don't know what the hell his name was. That motherfucker was boring and dry as shit. And here we got an actual villain that's got like fucking crazy ass witch powers. Just taking over the fucking city. I thought that was great. I was like, hey, finally a great final battle. Finally a great super villain that really, kind of makes sense. She's a great threat. They gotta stop her. She's gonna fucking destroy everything with her magic. And, I thought that I really thought that was a good choice, but maybe you didn't. So really, here it's like I really have to ask, just in the comments. Really, just write me. What did you have a problem here with this movie? Was there really anything that drastically wrong with it, or is it pretty much that you're just a Marvel fanboy and that you just want to promote Marvel films over the DC ones? If that is, okay, you're just a Marvel guy. So am I. But we've got to be honest here. I've already said this time and time again, and if it really needs to bear repeating, I'll repeat it till I'm blue in the face. I'm more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. I've said that. I just don't like Disney's current direction for Marvel films. Don't really care for them. The simple fact of the matter is those movies are just treated as big budget, bumbling, projects that just really don't feel like they're going anywhere. This whole series was built up around the Civil War. When we get this Civil War, and it's pretty fucking lame, is what it was. They're building up. Everybody was telling me, oh, no one was defending, really saying Age of Ultron was really like fantastic or some type of cinematic breakthrough or excellent movie. Most of them were just like, oh, read the comics, or you got to read the comics, and this is leading to something so much bigger. And I was still sitting here, and I made numerous videos about Age of Ultron as well, not just Civil War. Go check them out, where I've said exactly what I'm going to say here. Why can't we get a good movie now? It's like the thing with Suicide Squad. That's like if they're like, oh, well, we're just going to give you a little some of this and a little some of that, but the rest of the movie's not going to be that great. Oh, but the good stuff's coming later on. Trust me. I'd be like the same thing. I'd be like, what the fuck? No, I want a good movie now, not later, not 10 years from now. Oh, guys, the movie's that we're gonna be releasing 15 years from now is gonna be fantastic. But first, all the other movies that come before it, they're not gonna be that great because we gotta develop shit. How is it that in Suicide Squad, we were getting all the great character development here in one movie. And as far as this particular timeline goes, these are all the first appearances of these characters. And, in the current generation of DC movie, superhero films, whatever the fuck this is, it happens to be. So, I'm like, okay, I don't really see what the problem is here, because people are praising and bowing down to Marvel. Here, this is the thing. Marvel fanboys treat their Disney, uh, you know, Disney butt fucking these fucking Marvel franchises and completely destroying their integrity. Um, and, the pathetic Marvel fanboys are bowing down to them like they're fucking Enchantress. I think that's the thing here, guys. And I know a lot of people might not watch the video this far into it, but I really hope that someone like points, because I just want to say this: it really is like that. There was a section in this film where all of them get to see fantasies. Harley Quinn envisions the Joker and her living this lavish romantic lifestyle with 2 children. um, Deadshot is envisioning him being with his um, with his daughter again. El Diablo is picturing that his wife and children are still alive. And those great scenes. But the Marvel fanboys are living in a world where, oh, Marvel's magical. Everything Disney does to Marvel is amazing. Oh, it doesn't matter that this movie's not that great, because there'll be an amazing one 35 years from now, because, we're building up to it, but it's amazing. I love it. And, this just keeps going on and on. It's a continuous trend with Marvel fanboys, and I'm fucking sick of it already. It's really disgusting, and it's kind of like the same thing. You just got to stand up and you got to be like, it's not real. You got to be like El Diablo. You got to be like, none of this is real. Disney's not doing a good job with Marvel. They're fucking it up. Someone's got to be the one to kind of shake everybody out of their delusional state of these mirages and fantasies that, the Enchantress Disney is making everybody see, basically. And that's the best type of metaphor I could come up with. It's basically that. Meanwhile, these other movies that are good are going on, and people are like, oh no, Disney's great, DC's bad. So they're not going to even, rate them all down, rate all the rate all the fucking DC movies down, and elevate the Disney movies so they seem all that much better. And I'm just going to be sitting here every step of the way, just basically telling it like it is. The Disney fucking Marvel movies are garbage. Now, Winter Soldier, that was the exception. The first Avengers movie, not perfect by any means, but I'll go ahead and say it. It was the first of its kind. It was exciting to see all those guys together for the first time, so it's got that bit of charm to it. I don't know what I'd think of it if I went back to it now. I'd probably think it was fucking awful. Who knows? But guys, we're passing up on a great movie here to elevate. I mean, it's just like just people hanging on to Civil War that much. It's just like, the movie was so shitty. It was such a fucking piece of garbage, and people are like willing to defend it so hardcore to the end. I mean, seriously, would you guys are you gonna buy that Blu-ray and you're gonna watch that like fucking 10 times in a row? Is it that fucking good? Was it that great? That one fucking scene at the airport with Spider-Man looking like a CGI cracked up piece of fucking Macy balloon piece of shit. You're gonna stand by that? I mean, it's like, where are all the people that were calling out the bad CGI in the past? And Spider-Man looks great. I'm excited. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I was the only one sitting there with people the same age as me getting excited about Spider-Man showing up in this film. And I'm just there like, bro, we saw an actual fleshed out costume already in 5 different Spider-Man films. Yes, even the Amazing Spider-Man ones, that was a real suit. You get all the way to Civil War and all of a sudden no suit. Because it was so obvious that it was shoehorned in. And I'm sorry, but if you're like adding shit into a movie like mere months before it's released, that means you're fucking desperate. I don't even think I really brought up that argument, really. I know I talked extensively about how much I did not like Spider-Man in, the dude, Tom Holland. He was okay. I'm not really going to bash the dude's performance. He's a little bit too young, I think, but it's not really about that. It was more the suit. It's like we saw all those suits, and you get all the way to Civil War, and you're just gonna fucking throw them in there. And the thing is, it's pathetic because it really shows that, oh, you want to get more asses in the seats. Let's just throw Spider-Man in there. It doesn't matter how he looks. And I've got an old coworker from Facebook who was telling me, and I wrote a whole post with the whole video there, complaining about it, bitching about it. That's rightfully I'm allowed to do, motherfuckers. You know, I never get this. It's like, oh, people say, oh, you bitch and you bitch. Oh, okay. You know, you're going to hang around this channel and you're eventually going to come across some negative reviews. You know, you're going to sit there, and I'm sorry if this is Suicide Squad review and I'm going to say that, but it's going to lead up to something, I promise. So, you know, they got to shoehorn that in. Because they've got nothing else to show for this movie. So they got to put in a little bit of, you know, infuse a little bit of excitement with Spider-Man because maybe they weren't getting the reaction they wanted, or they wanted to elevate it to a further level. And nobody calls it. Nobody calls them on it. The fact that it looked like trash. You know, and the thing is, you don't have to worry about that with Suicide Squad. Not at no point am I sitting there. You know, it's not I don't have a really big problem, but I don't really care for Joker's look. But I'm not like really sitting there like, oh, you know. I was like, oh, all right, I disagree with the look, but Jared Leto's doing a great performance. The thing was, I'm just there with Spider-Man Civil War being like, holy shit, this sucks. And it doesn't even matter if the kid's doing an alright job with the jokes and stuff. I'm just like, he don't even need to be in this movie. He's there, and he's just like another guy. You know, it's like we don't need another guy. There was already way too many fucking people in Civil War that weren't getting properly character developed. You know, we didn't need another fucking character, a fucking legend like Spider-Man, pretty much the fucking poster boy for Marvel being shoehorned in. Did not need that. And at no point do you have to worry about DC and the fact that properties are spread up because Disney's greedy and they don't want to, you know, lend out their properties. And I say, fuck that. I don't like to sit here and worry about Disney and how greedy they are with their fucking monopoly on all these different properties. We don't have to sit there and worry about that. I just want to sit down and enjoy the fucking movie and not worry about, oh, the quality's going to be affected because Disney's too greedy. Fuck out of here with that shit. Disney's like completely ruined Marvel. That's why I'm on board for the DC. I like the direction they're going in here. We're getting heavy on the character development. Ben Affleck, just that fucking mid-credit scene with him, I like him better than Christian Bale. He's my favorite Batman so far. You know, of course, we're not talking about the animated series with Kevin Conroy. I'm not really talking about that, but I'm saying like for live action Batmans, Ben Affleck for me portrays the Frank Miller Batman to a T. So I'm a fan of his portrayal of Bruce Wayne and Batman. I'm a big fan of it. I love it. And there I am. I was a big critic of them casting him, just like everybody else. But I see Ben Affleck, and I am accepting this man as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I am so happy that is. And see, that's how I am. Everyone likes to illustrate me as like some kind of guy that hates everything, but I'm here praising a guy that I said originally that I didn't really care for too much. I'm not gonna lie, I really don't care for too many of Ben Affleck's movies. Never was a big fan, disliked a lot of them, but the guy's doing a good job. I'm gonna give him credit. You know, it's the thing like the DC universe. I only like two heroes from the DC universe, being Batman and Superman. I don't care about Green Lantern. I don't care about Wonder Woman. I don't care about Martian Manhunter. I don't care about like Captain Marvel. I don't care about these fuckers. You know, I don't care about the Flash. His suit sucks. I don't like his look. I think he's kind of lame, all in red like that. It's not my style. I don't like him. I don't like these other characters. So I'm not a DC fanboy. You know, as everybody likes to portray me as. I'm like, I can't even stress it enough. It's like, come on, you're not a DC fanboy. But everybody likes to keep fucking saying that. Anyway, guys, long ass video here. I enjoyed Suicide Squad. The direction for DC films has got me engaged, has got me intrigued, has got me beyond interested. I'm really looking forward to the Justice League. So I'm not crazy about the girl who plays fucking Wonder Woman and the kid who plays the Flash, who, by the way, shows up for like 5 seconds in this fucking film. Anyway, Suicide Squad is a great movie. I'd give it like an 8.5 out of 10, bordering on a 9. So I definitely recommend it. Fuck the critics. Fuck the Marvel fanboys. And fuck paying off critics to make your shitty ass movies look better, Disney. Suicide Squad is good.